Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brendan Hauser with EVOQ Bike, the French edition with the mustache, just getting ready for a trip. But welcome to BikeRadio. On Tuesdays, we have the interviews with the World Tour pros, Olympians, elite level coaches. Today, it's more a potpourri of topics where they don't all deserve their own episode, but I think there's value in them and tidbits from athletes, my own personal training. I train a ton, love doing it, and if you want to just get some exposure to things that I'm doing that I find success with, this is the show for you. If not, come back on Tuesday, listen to other people talk, and drop gems. So let's get into this. I've got 5 things that I want to run through. Number 1, the magic VO2Max interval for group ride success, which if you've listened to this channel before, you know that there isn't one. Spoiler alert, but this was a good question. Metric goals, should you chase them during the season? You should definitely have better results. That's not a diss, but you should. 18 months into training, where are you really at? I think this is an important message and one that I wish my coach had drilled home to me early on. What you should be doing, in my opinion, a couple scenarios at the end of the 3rd week of training, whether you're fatigued or maybe feeling good. How do you know when to push and when to pull back? And then starting off with 3 super quick bullet points. If you have been taking the ketones from Delta G, you may have noticed the liquid, it's very, I always screw this word up, viscosity, it sticks to the bottle. You want to keep those bottles and rinse them. There's going to be 2 to 4 grams of ketone esters sometimes stuck on the side, where you can weigh it on a scale, go take the empty bottle, quote unquote, tear it to 0, fill it with water, shake it up, drink it, put it down. It'll be like negative 2.5. All those ketone esters add up over time. So if you're not on a, you shouldn't be ever throwing the bottles anyways. But when you get home or even at the end of a race, just pour some water from your water bottle in there and get the extra ketones. Had an athlete that was nutrition circles back to eating like an athlete and treating himself well to not doing that. And then always comes back with, I got to change my diet. I got to get on a diet. I don't like the word diet simply because of the connotation. Think of eating habits. You're going to make more change if you have better actual habits. So think of your eating as an athlete, not as, I got to lose weight for this sport. It's a subtle difference, but to me, it makes a huge difference. It's made a huge change from when I came from a overweight candy junkie to definitely not that now, in my opinion. So, and then the last quick comment, there was a guy who is getting his volume back up, had a rough-ish winter, did an 80-mile ride, and then was bummed because of all these other people doing 100-plus mile rides. Get inspiration and motivation from other people on Strava, but don't let it knock you down. Don't let it take your 50-mile ride and make you feel like crap because you only rode 2.5 hours or 3 hours and somebody else rode 5. Use that, evoke what you want to become, bring it to mind, see something down the road, and make a plan to get there. Not trying to preach, but just Strava is an amazing thing, but it also is a social media that has negative ways of messing with our mind. Okay, end of week 3. Should you push hard or should you dial back? There is definitely a case for both. The last push before a rest week, if you are feeling good, then I would say push it. Do a hard ride on the weekend on Saturday, and maybe just endurance on Sunday. The key here is this cratering you? Like, are you already tired and this is going to put you in a hole where you might just compromise your immune system and get sick during the rest week? I would only be pushing if you feel good, or if you are a Cat 1-2 and you've talked with your coach or training buddy and it's like you're going to a stage race where you're going to be racing 5, 6, 7 days in a row and you need to put your body through that ringer. That's a different case that most people aren't in. But I think finish the week strong. Now at the same time, it might be that you get to Tuesday in the 3rd week and you're like, man, I'm feeling kind of tired. You go do your Wednesday endurance ride and you go to get on the bike on Thursday. It's like, no, I don't have any meaty, I don't have tempo. I would recommend, as long as you are not wasted, go ride the endurance ride. Take Friday off. Then on the weekend, go for some long endurance rides. This way you're getting the miles in, you're keeping your overall training volume up, you're starting to let your body recover, and you're going into the rest week not shattered. You don't need to be broken when you go into a rest week. You will still get stronger. And that way, you're probably going to recover in 3-4 days, and then you're ready for when Friday, Saturday comes around the next week and to get things kickstarted again for the next block. Just make sure you're not totally overcooking yourself. Number 2, if you are 18 months into training, welcome to cycling. You are very new in this sport. And one question that I try to tease out from new athletes and other athletes coming on board to work with EVOQ with other coaches is, where are you at in your training history? And where do you want to take this? Do you want to become your best endurance athlete? Because there is 0% chance that you can do that in 18 months. There is a 0% chance that you can do that in 3 years. You are still a newbie at 3 years, still developing. Listen to much smarter people than me talking about how long it takes to hit your endurance peaks. A decade. A lot of training. So I had an athlete who was disappointed and actually said he felt embarrassed when he got dropped from a group of 3 people, Cat 1s and 2s, and this guy is a Cat 5. And I said, dude, I know you're not entitled. Why in the world would you feel embarrassed when you've literally been training for 18 months? Literally train. The fact that you can even be in the realm of riding with Cat 1-2s is incredible. Those 2 other athletes, I promise you, they're thinking, yo, if we don't drop this guy, we are embarrassing ourselves. So don't, again, let other people shake you from your plan. If this guy's made that far in 18 months, I cannot wait to see where he is in 18 more months. And then 2 more years at year 5. I look back when I was at year 3, I thought I knew some things. Did not. Okay, so this is a journey. Embrace it. You're not going to be at your version of amazing for literally years. Embrace that. You can't rush this, and that's a great thing. That's a barrier to entry. A lot of people quit way before they hit their peak. And so continue to learn, continue to think, keep pedaling, and you will continue to get stronger. So you should have better results, and this is for probably at least half of the people listening, and that's not a diss. Again, this is to encourage you to think about your mental game. I was talking to Josh, the other EVOQ coach, about people that self-sabotage, not only physically, but mentally. We are in a time where Watts, and you're going to hear Colby Pierce come on the podcast, you're going to hear Pachi Vila from Movistar come on the podcast, and they both drop little comments about this, and where we are so watt focused that athletes who then want to go race do not understand the demands of racing and how much of a mental part of this sport there is. But honestly, people are in their heads on the start line with self-doubt. They're not believing, they're not trusting their plan, which is massive. If you don't trust what you're doing is bringing you to the race with your best chance of having a good result, you need to talk to your coach, talk to your training buddy, figure out why you have that. That is just so harmful to your performance. People look around, oh, this team's there, that person's there, I know how strong these people are. Oh man, this week, maybe I should have rested more. Or the other physical self-sabotage, I have to do more. People that randomly like go lift a day before the race, like, why are you doing that? Oh, you get in your head, and that's where you're going to hear Cade Bickmore talk about this. He tried to self-coach and has a coach now again, because when you're in the forest, when you're staring at the trees, I said that wrong. When you're staring at the trees, doing all the workouts and getting ready for the race, sometimes it's hard to step back and see the forest, and sometimes your coach or training buddy has a better vantage point to tell you when not to do something. Watts only do not predict performance. Okay, there's plenty of people that I've looked at, I'm like, oh, this person looks like they're gonna be so fast, and they're not. Okay, and just trust your process, and then also kind of a random keynote. Focus all the way through the race. Especially, I know people that will do like a 5-hour gravel race, and they just start to lose focus when fatigue hits hour 4, and they could have had a top 10, and instead they finished 17th. And it's capitalizing, being able to finish strong is really important. I've talked about this metric goals. I'm not going to belabor this because we've talked about it before on the channel, but if you're going out and your big goal is to chase 300 watts for 3 hours, what does that do for you? You know, if that is very race specific somehow, then I guess go for it. And I get chasing the 20-minute power goal. That's more applicable, I think, to a lot of different things. But people have these very random goals. And I would just ask you to think, are you going to get that much excitement if you accomplish it. You're out on the road in the middle of nowhere and you get it, you pat yourself on the back, but then what's next? You know, I would ask yourself, what are you doing that for? And maybe it's so you can get a KOM on a certain climb, or so you can get prepared for a race, or so you can, you know, beat your friend, or there's got to be something besides just the metric goal. Because then also on the other hand, if you fail and you don't get it, then it's like you go back to the drawing board for the same thing. It gets really stale. I just have never seen, I shouldn't say never. Well, I really can't honestly say I've worked with an athlete over the past 10 plus years where we've had a metric goal that wasn't tied to some, like a stepping stone to something else that ended it well. I've had people that are like, no, I really want to accomplish this. And when they did, they didn't feel that great from it. And if they failed, it really felt kind of like a waste of time. So I would just I'm not telling you what to do. I would just think about that. What are you really going to get from that? And then the last point, the magic VO2 for group rides. This athlete wrote, I think this was on YouTube, I do one hard group ride a week and I'm looking to complement that with one VO2 or threshold interval on alternating weeks. What types of intervals would be best to get stronger in the group ride? I live in an area with rolling hills. So if you've watched this channel before, you know that is nowhere near enough information to give him an accurate answer. So I said, hey, it's hard to give you a magical 1 or 2 intervals to do. It depends, where in the group ride are you lacking? Is it like short, sharp bursts that might be anaerobic power? Or is it a longer 5 to 8 minute effort where it's like people hit the gas on this climb and you're losing them towards the top? Or is it just repeated spikes in power when like people are trading off attacks and you get dropped? You know, we'd really need to know more, but let's talk about these real quickly. Like if it's short, sharp bursts and it is anaerobic power, then you need to be doing some like 45, 60-second efforts, and at the same time monitoring, making sure you're not becoming too glycolytic where you're doing this all the time. We're then doing a 10, 15, 20-minute threshold effort becomes harder, or you're like 10, 15 watts lower. Because at the same time, this could be an endurance thing, right? If you're getting dropped on a 5 to 8 minute effort, maybe you have that wattage, but it happens at, you know, he didn't say how long the group ride is, maybe an hour and a half in. I don't know your endurance capability. Maybe you're already getting really fatigued because you don't do long enough rides to be good at this type of ride. But if it's just a 5 to 8 minute effort, should work on your VO2Max, whether you're doing 5 to 8 minute VO2Max efforts, whether you're doing like 4x8 above threshold efforts. There's a lot of ways to work on your VO2Max capabilities. And then if it's just repeated spikes in power over and over again, could be a lactate clearance issue. And those are very beneficial in my mind. For myself, anecdotally, those have helped me transform my riding late in a race and hard group ride for sure. So I don't want to be wishy-washy on that type of answer, but that's just the truth. It's really hard to dial in without taking a look way more under the hood at what's your anaerobic capacity like, what's your FTP compared to VO2Max, what are you good at? That's also sometimes helps us shine a light on what are you really bad at. So just, again, this is kind of what this podcast is about. Think more deeply about your training and you can uncover some low-lying fruit and then also some gems to go work on. And with that, that's all we got. Thanks to one of our sponsors, I'm going to pick Lactigo. If you haven't tried it, more watts, less burn, Lactigo, use the code Brendan. Please like and subscribe and do all those things to help the algorithms, help us grow so that we can get even bigger, badder, more insane guests. The guests that we've had on the podcast are incredible. We keep getting bigger names because people look at the channel like, oh, you actually are doing something over here. Yeah, I do want to come on and share my expertise. So thank you to everybody who's been on the channel. We cannot do this without you. Thank you to everybody who subscribed. Thank you to everybody who has shared it. If you're still here listening and you share this on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, that is massive. So we're still just a little podcast, but we're one of the most shared podcasts on Spotify, and that's all because of you. So thank you. Let's get it. Good luck with your training. See ya.